Next up, we have Karuna Thomas, the Chief Possibility Officer at Karuna Thomas Coaching and Consulting LLC. She offers expertise to transitioning service members in advancing their career goals in the corporate world through American Corporate Partners, ACP. ACP is a national nonprofit organization that provides one-on-one mentoring, networking, and online career advice to veterans and active duty spouses. And the talk will be hosted by our very own Sanmaya. So here, without further ado, Karuna and Sanmaya.
Hey, hi Karuna. So nice to have you with us here at the Virtual Reboot 2021, supporting veterans and military spouses. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, so Karuna, I'd love to know more about your career journey and, how did the passion kindle in you to help veterans and mentor them throughout their journey? So tell us more about that and where you're based.
Yeah, so I'm based here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. And first of all, I do want to take this moment to thank all our veterans, all those who have served in our active duty military, serving our country and making all those enormous sacrifices where we as civilians get to experience the benefits and privilege of living in a free country. So thank you for serving our country and protecting our freedom. So a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm a senior certified professional coach from ICF and EMCC accredited school. I'm passionate about equipping professional leaders from women of color, immigrant women in their career strategy and growth. And my background has mainly been in the food service and restaurant side of the industry, where I got to wear several different hats: supply chain, international business, distribution, logistics, and also this past decade, close to a decade, got to work with franchisees from all over the world and suppliers in building sustainable supply chain network to grow the US global brand. And that got me into diversity, equity, inclusion. And now I'm a partner with Diversity Crew, a consortium of DEI consultants and practitioners offering organizations various services from DEI roadmap strategy, training, consulting. But of course, I'm here today to talk about mentorship through American Corporate Partners and how I've been working with transitioning service members, veterans, active duty military spouses, and helping them in their career journey and transition into the civilian and corporate world.
Oh, that's so nice to hear, Karuna. And touching down on that and doubling down on that, I'd love to know, because you're someone who experiences, you have experience in the field of mentorship and you get to interact with veterans on a day-to-day basis. So what is your experience with, interacting them on a day-to-day basis like?
Yeah, so, in the 2 decades that I was in the food service and restaurant industry, I did have the, experience of working with peers who are veterans, but my actual induction took place with the mentorship program through American Corporate Partners, also known as ACP, which is a nationwide nonprofit organization offering free mentorship programs to post 9/11 veterans, transitioning service members, and active duty military spouses. And they refer to them as proteges. So you'll hear me refer to as proteges. And the reason I started volunteering as a mentor with ACP was because of my increasing involvement in the diversity, equity, inclusion space starting in 2018. And just learning about the lack of opportunities, the lack of representation, including in leadership that existed for marginalized groups, including veterans, and the struggles and challenges that they have in making that transition into the civilian and corporate world.
Totally, that sounds so great. By the way, so what are some of the most common problems and issues that you encounter on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so the primary concern that they come to, especially during the mentorship program, is around deciding on a career path. That is, the survey statistics is that 86%. Networking with employers. I mean, just imagine you're moving to a totally new world and you have to have connections and contacts, and not having that. We all know how difficult it is to get your foot in the door to get a job. And the big one that I deal with is translating military skills into civilian terms. So through the mentorship program, you're basically, being that bridge builder and mitigating that gap. And I call it the 3 A's: awareness, access, and advocacy. So awareness is, of course, sharing the resources that ACP provides. I work with improving the resume skills. Interviewing skills is big because, again, it's all about translating the military background in civilian terms. And I would like to share a link here to kind of help the non-military, non-veteran folks to get familiar with the jargons. And access, network is big because I remember a protege who moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He was looking at a job in logistics and supply chain, and I was just able to, send out referrals and make connections. So I got with ACP, letting them know that in the future, give me proteges in cities where I have contacts and connections, because it's so much easier. And advocacy for sure, helping out the ERGs in your organizations to have veteran ERGs, employee resource groups, and learning more about the community in general.
Yeah, that sounds so great. And I love the 3 A's analogy. And I totally get it. When you have served your nation for so long and you have been, you've been serving in the forces, it's sometimes a difficult step to, get into the civilian life and, get into the works of, interviewing, getting into a role, networking, and all of those. And it's so great that you're helping all the veterans making that transition. And so moving forward, as an expert in career counseling and guidance, what would you say is the importance of choosing the right fit role for those who come to you for seeking advice? So what's your mantra, or what's your framework to all of those people to kind of find that sweet spot, that sweet balance?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's one of the hardest one as well. The saying that I use, the phrase that I like, the quote that I like, and I use with all my coaching clients is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So just like when we're planning, a road trip, we know the destination. And once we know the destination, we map out our, map, the route. We have a GPS. But it's the same thing when it comes to veterans. And again, one of the biggest challenges that I mentioned earlier was deciding on a career path, knowing what are the options out there, what are the opportunities out there. And as a mentor or a career counselor as well, you try to make sure that the veterans' skills, experience, and interest align with the career field and the job that they're looking. And I would like to emphasize the word interest here, because as a mentor initially with ACP, I made the assumption that, coming out of the military or being in the military, there are certain skills and talents, and looking at their portfolio, I made the assumption, they would want to transition into exactly the same kind of job profile. So the protege that I was mentoring out of Georgia, she had an amazing portfolio of managing shifts and dealing with difficult team members, resolving conflict. But she was very clear that that was not what she wanted to continue to do. She wanted to be in distribution, but not on the floor, but more in the office space. Then again, aligning that accordingly. And right now, what we're seeing across the board is the Great Resignation, where people are resigning from their jobs in millions, since data was captured in April 2021. So what that has also done is it has accelerated innovation and created jobs where companies are offering remote, hybrid, flexible work hours. So it's no longer a cookie cutter job market out there. So that really opens up some avenues and the scope to match with your skill sets, your purpose, your value proposition, with the skills and talents around it. And I'm going to share another link here, which is Unlocking the Potential of Veteran Workforce, which talks about, again, career opportunities in service type industries, knowledge type industries, and physical type industries. Because mapping out your career path is very critical.
Totally. And, adding on to that, what is the significance? I mean, I would love for you to, maybe double down on that point that you said, what's the significance of a well mapped out career in one's trajectory, and how important it is for, if it's specifically a veteran. So yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so, like I said, it's no longer a cookie cutter job market out there. And then, for example, if they've been in the tech side, now there are options in fintech and biotech. And, there are different opportunities that have even come about. Now, as far as, talking about a career strategy or career mapping, what we do through ACP, which is really tremendous, is they have career assessment questions. They do have one-on-one conversation with the protege to kind of identify what is it that they're looking for, what are the skill sets they want to hone in on. And again, there are so many industries that are partners, corporate partners with American Corporate Partner, that they actually get to look into what is the scope of the different areas that they want to work in. And that's, again, where the mentor and the career coaching or counseling comes into play, because one of the biggest challenges that veterans are facing right now is underemployment. So they are overqualified for some of the jobs that are being applied for. So again, being that bridge builder, being that support system to kind of navigate that and making sure it's a one-to-one sort of match.
Yeah, that's so great. By the way, so what's your opinion? I mean, would you say that the transition from an active military life to the corporate world, is it a difficult transition? What's your take on that?
Oh, yes. It's not as smooth as one would like it to be. And here it is my, call to action where, the non-military, the non-veteran community can come forth as advocates and allies to bridge that gap. I mean, today there are 19 million veterans, out of which 2 million are female veterans. So that is less than 10% of the US adult population. So, where the 90+% can advocate and be allies in bridging some of the gaps and challenges and bridging the military and civilian or corporate divide is so key. So, some of the challenges are both on the civilian side and the corporate side. When they are moving in a base or they're at a post, military helps military personnel and families adjust, but they don't necessarily have that same support structure when they come into the civilian world. So as an example, if within your community you see a veteran family moving in, definitely make the effort to, engage and help them integrate. Even when it comes to establishing services in the military, they do get, all the amenities, right? It's provided. But when they get out, they have to look up even, basic amenities like finding a physician, finding, getting life insurance or other amenities. So again, advocating. And the other one, as I mentioned earlier, is underemployment. A research from Pew Research calls out that post 9/11 veterans who worked in their first post-military job, they felt that they were overqualified based on their military experience, skills, and training. And what that comes about because majority of the Americans are civilians, including HR professionals, hiring managers, corporate leaders. So there's little, or no awareness and exposure to military or the knowledge about the skills that they bring. So I'm really excited for the Power to Fly Summit because I would encourage everyone to, engage in the upcoming conversations and see how you can advocate for the 3 A's, whether it's awareness, access, or advocacy. Because when you think of these issues for veterans, it's not only from a standpoint of community outreach and social impact, but also from a standpoint of manpower and resource issue for the business community. because the success of veterans after transition means success to the business community, and they are invaluable talent which is being who are under tapped. So yeah, definitely excited for this summit.
Those are some really great thoughts right there, Karuna. And, I'd like to ask one of the few things that I have noticed, because my father works here in India, the Indian Army, and I'm part of the veterans family. So, there's a difference in communication. So how do you feel like when somebody is transitioning from a military background to a corporate job or a corporate lifestyle? So how different is the communication in both the fields? And what's your take on it?
Yeah, it's very different. And in fact, that's why I shared this very first link, which is translating the experience for resume and interview conversations, because the jargon that the military uses, the ranks, the titles, they're very different. So just on the resume, if you were to key the military ranking, it's not going to make sense necessarily to a hiring manager or the recruiter unless they come from the military background. So it is really important as a mentor and a career counselor to help translate the terms in civilian language. So, and this is something that also a quote from former President George W. Bush, and it's in one of the links that I shared, that hiring managers tend to look for many of the same skills in job candidates. However, sniper doesn't tend to be one of them. So chances are the vice president of human relations is going to say, we don't need one this year. So conversely, have that veteran put on the application form that they have a lot of experience dealing with pressure, that they are a team member, team player, that they are loyal to a cause greater than themselves, that they understand how to follow instructions, that they are a responsible citizen. The vice president would be more likely to say, oh, that's the kind of person we want working for us. So veterans and employers have a hard time translating military experience. So there is a language barrier, like you pointed out.
Totally. And, the points that you mentioned, those actionable points, those were so great, because, when you mentioned the military jargon, just like you said, sniper, the HR person is going to be amazed. We don't have that kind of an opportunity here. But when you confer the key responsibilities associated with that role, and you kind of communicate that, so that opens a door of new opportunities. That's so well put, Karuna. So moving forward, so can you maybe run us through what are some of the similarities and differences one can apply while making a transition from from the military side to the corporate world? So can we maybe have a quick a checklist kind of a sort, so that all the people who are tuned in, they get to know all the differences and get to know all the tricks that they can apply to be more visible in the corporate sector?
Yeah, so the differences are definitely a lot more, I would say, than similarities. And here I would actually encourage the audience, the veterans in the audience, of what allyship and advocacy would look like to them in making the transition. Because some of the things that they experience when they come out of the military is that lack of purpose, or, it's so structured that they require, that framework is sort of missing. And again, in the military, it is very collaborative. But when you come into the civilian world or the corporate world, it gets a little bit more competitive. And also, that sense of belonging, that sense of community, all those tend to be missing when they move from the military to the civilian world. So where we could kind of, again, bridge that divide is educating ourselves who are non-military, non-veteran, on how to learn more, so that there aren't any biases associated, because unconscious bias comes from lack of exposure, lack of knowledge, lack of awareness. And that's where supporting the employee resource group for veterans comes into play, play. Volunteering in your community with the veterans comes into play. And there are so many other ways that you can advocate. But the first step is, of course, to learn, like you said, what are the differences and what are the similarities. So I would say at this point, I'm aware of a lot more differences. And when it comes to similarities, there are a lot of tasks, like I said, that is same. I was mentoring throughout in my mentorship on logistics and supply chain, distribution and warehousing. And they are, one of the proteges was moving millions of dollars of, artillery and equipment and weapons. And again, to translate that again in civilian terms, to show the amount of responsibility that she had, the importance of her job profile, again, we had to, change the jargon and make sure that we still conveyed and didn't minimize any of the work that she had done. So being able to be that bridge builder, I have to educate myself as well. Like I said, I've learned a lot as I was sharing with another Power to Fly representative of how much I have learned from just engaging myself just through the mentorship program. I can tell you there's a whole lot more that I do not know, but I've learned a lot just through the mentorship program.
Yeah, that's so great. And, the tips that you just told our members, those are so great to apply. And I'm sure they will open many doors for them. So moving forward, as part of the ACP, they offer mentorship programs that allow exploring and growth in the career journeys of veterans who are transitioning into the corporate environment. So how would you say, your mentorship program is different or unique from it, and how it is more personalized to their benefits?
Yeah, no, definitely. So again, military members of the armed forces, extremely dedicated, extremely committed, and very, very, ambitious also, I would say, because the proteges that I got to mentor, they were pursuing multiple degrees. They were running their family, the household at the same time, doing the job search because they were in the middle of transition and they start the program a year before they're retiring. And it was just so inspiring to see the commitment and dedication that they have. But again, American Corporate Partners is one of the forums that's providing that bridge, that support system to minimize the gap or the challenges that they face. So ACP's mentorship program is a free mentorship program, and it's from a national, nonprofit organization. And again, they connect post 9/11 veterans, active duty spouses, and eligible military spouses with corporate professionals. So their sponsors are companies, including companies from Fortune 500. There are about 65 Fortune 500 companies, and there are some select universities as well. So it's the professionals who are volunteers from these organizations that come into volunteer and mentor. So we bring, our expertise. I have 2-decade expertise, as I mentioned early on, in various fields. So you're talking about all these other companies that are sending their volunteers who are as mentors coming from various different industries, whether it's financial, banking, insurance, medical, food service, distribution. You name it, it's there. So it gives them that exposure, that spectrum, that range of different industries, different fields and professionals to tap into. And it's a 1-year, one-on-one customized program. So the ACP team member actually calls on the applicant, the protege, to walk them through. So it's not an automated matching process. It's actually a live one-on-one matching process. And ACP hand selects the mentor for each protege. And it's a 1-year mentorship program, and the mentor and protege are welcome to continue the mentoring relationship or beyond that. And then again, the mentor is extending their network. Some of the topics that are talked about are resume review, interview preparation, career exploration, small business development, leadership, and professional communication. These organizations also have a webcast series where they're talking about, again, the job market, the job opportunities within their organization, talking about the scope of the different industries and different fields and disciplines. They answer questions, and they also have an advisor net where even if you're not a protege, you can still go in and ask a lot of questions. So last year, just 2,677 veterans, went through the 1-year mentorship program in 2020. And 1,967 gained employment in 2020. So it's a great platform, but there are several resources and associations or nonprofit organizations like American Corporate Partners as well.
So, by the way, when a veteran graduates from the ACP, so do you have a community to support them in their journey afterwards, or how does it work?
So the advisory net is actually, advisor net is actually a great forum and platform. And again, during the mentorship, they're building relationships. And again, as mentors, we are extending our network, and the organizations are also involved. So as far as the support system is concerned, you can continue those relationships after the mentorship program formally ends, but you can also tap into the website and ACP's resources on an ongoing basis.
That's so great. By the way, we have a question from the audience. So does your mentorship program involve a sensitivity towards mental health issues and counseling? That's a great question.
Not that I am aware of. I know when it comes to the mentorship program, it's all around, the job opportunity, job search, preparing the skills, navigating through the corporate culture. But this is a great question, and I really appreciate this question because that is an important topic and that I'm involved with in the DEI space. So, and in fact, I can share resources and certifications that Diversity Crew, which is the consortium of DEI practitioners and experts that I'm part of, where we do advocate for mental health, mental wellness, mindfulness, which is really critical when they are transitioning from the military to the civilian world. So though I'm not aware if this is being introduced at this point in the program, but I do have access and awareness, and I'm able to extend that resource individually.
Totally. Now that we are nearing towards the end of this session, so I'd love to know how our audience members and the veterans who are aspirants of a successful full-time career can connect with you regarding their queries and get mentorship from you.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to career choices, career strategy, growth, I continue to partner with leaders and executives from all the different industries, from academia, tech, food service, and of course, I, career counsel through ACP as well. But yeah, I'm happy to share my information to connect with me. And something that I do want to share as we come to a close is that the pandemic and all the unfortunate racial injustice incidents that occurred highlighted a lot of disparities and inequities, which has definitely, pushed organizations, and they are making some intentional moves to reassess their policies, DEI, hiring, retention, and growth opportunities for minorities. But DEI efforts and initiatives is an ongoing journey, and each of us has a role to play. So with that, I'm going to, talk about how each one can grow their awareness. And of course, I'm part of Diversity Crew, and we have DEI practitioners. In fact, the CDO is a veteran himself. And I would, encourage you to kind of, again, whether it's mental health, mental wellness, to take advantage of these certifications and courses. And in fact, there's a Cyber Monday sale coming up, and you can get it at 50% off. So, and again, if you need any DEI strategy or consulting, Diversity Crew is definitely your go-to. And you can also reach out to me. I'm at www.karunathomas.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and my email is also mentioned here. Again, I'm a huge advocate of veterans and also women and gender equality and equity, part of Lean In for North Dallas Network. And I'm an I'm Remarkable Google certified facilitator, which is also around self-promotion, self-advocacy, empowering women and minority groups to talk about their accomplishments in the workplace and beyond.
Thank you. Thank you, Karuna. It was so nice to have this conversation with you. And I'm sure our audience will greatly benefit from the nuggets of wisdom that you shared. Looking forward to have you with us in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thanks to Power to Fly for extending this platform to raise awareness, access, and advocacy for veterans.